UA's dorm common room had transformed into a chaotic battleground, but not the kind involving explosions or physical confrontations. This was a far more formidable foe, the heart's struggle with romantic ineptitude. Ochako stood at the center of this turmoil, her cheeks flushed a vibrant pink, hands tightly clasped in front of her, and her heart racing so violently that she felt it might break free from her chest. If there were anyone nearby with enhanced hearing, they would surely be compelled to file a noise complaint over the frantic thumping echoing within her. Seated across from her was Izuku, the aspiring #1 hero, known not just for his brilliance in strategy and combat, but also for his striking inability to navigate the intricacies of romantic relationships. Next to him, Tenya sat upright, embodying the ideal of a class representative. His top-tier intellect and adherence to the rules made him a model student, but, tragically, rendered him equally blind to matters of the heart. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Ochako mentally gathered her courage. This was it, the moment she had been anticipating. "Would you guys maybe want to go to the amusement park with me this weekend? Just the three of us?" she finally asked, her voice laced with a mix of hope and trepidation. A heavy silence settled over the room, amplifying her anxiety. Then, in a flash, Izuku's face brightened with enthusiasm. "That sounds amazing! We haven't done a group outing like that in ages!" he exclaimed, his eagerness shining through like a beacon. Tenya, ever the picture of composure, adjusted his glasses with a thoughtful expression. "Indeed, proper relaxation is essential before our final evaluations. Excellent suggestion, Uraraka," he chimed in with a nod of approval. Ochako's mind whirled as she blinked in surprise, absorbing their enthusiastic responses. "Right," she murmured, trying to suppress the mix of relief and embarrassment that washed over her. Meanwhile, from behind the couch, Mina Ashido face-palmed so hard that the sound echoed throughout the common room, amplifying the absurdity of the situation. The war zone of romantic incompetence raged on, but for Ochako, this was just the beginning of her battle. Later that night, Class 3A held an emergency meeting. "It's been 3 months!" Mina exclaimed in a hushed but intense voice, her frustration barely contained. Kaminari leaned back in his chair, letting out a dramatic groan. 3 long months of what everyone insists on calling hangouts, he emphasized with a roll of his eyes. Jiro, sitting with her arms crossed, shot him a deadpan look. "They're not calling them dates. It's more like a group thing." Mina wouldn't let it go. "They are dates! She literally said just the 3 of us under the fireworks the last time." Her hands flew up in exasperation as she recalled the moment. Kirishima, ever the mediator, leaned forward with a curious expression. "Okay, but remember how Midoriya reacted? He literally cried because he thought she meant they were just bonding as friends." Jiro buried her face in her hands. "I hate it here," she muttered, clearly exasperated by the whole situation. From his corner, Todoroki observed the group with his usual stoic demeanor. "This appears to be a communication failure," he replied, his voice calm and analytical, cutting through the tension. Bakugo, who had been listening with a scowl on his face, couldn't help but sneer. "No, it's a stupidity failure." "How can you all be this clueless?" he barked, clearly annoyed by their stupidity. In Ochako's perspective, she wasn't exactly subtle in her affections, and deep down she was fully aware of it. Take, for instance, that night at the haunted house. She had intertwined her fingers with theirs, the thrill of fear blending perfectly with the warmth of their hands. Or those quiet evenings spent watching movies together, where she would lean into them, seeking comfort as the plot unfolded, lost in the moment. And then there were the late-night study sessions, where fatigue would finally take over, and she'd find herself dozing off between them, feeling perfectly at ease and protected in their presence. She had even been bold enough to voice her feelings one evening, saying, "I feel safest when it's you two." Izuku had smiled brightly and responded, "We're a really strong team." His enthusiasm was infectious, and it wrapped around her like an extra layer of warmth. Tenya, ever the earnest one, chimed in with his usual stoic sincerity. "Your trust is deeply appreciated." His words made her heart swell, yet they also added to the whirlwind of emotion inside her. After that moment, she retreated to her room, overwhelmed by everything she felt. Once the door was closed, she let out a muffled scream into her pillow, her frustration escaping into the soft fabric. For 10 whole minutes, she vented her pent-up emotions, her heart racing as she grappled with the depth of her feelings for them. Operation Make Them Get It. The class had had enough. "All right," Mina declared, slamming a notebook onto the table. "We're escalating." Step 1. Obvious setups. Candlelit, accidental dinner. Romantic movie night, selected by Jiro. Locked-in escape room with only one solution, cooperation and emotional vulnerability. Result? Izuku: "Wow, this atmosphere is really nice." Tenya: "The lighting is quite refined." Ochako: "Internally dying." Step 2. Direct intervention. Kirishima pulled Izuku aside. "Dude, hypothetically, if someone every week, just you and another guy, and held your hand." Izuku turned red instantly. That would mean they really trust me." Kirishima stared at him. "Bro." Mina cornered Tenya next. "Okay, Iida, hypothetically, a girl asks you on repeated outings, just you and one other guy." Tenya nodded. "A close friendship dynamic." Mina grabbed his shoulders. "No, romance." Tenya froze. "Oh," a beat. "Oh." The almost confession. It happened on a quiet evening. There was no setup or interference. Just the three of them in the dorm common room, soft lights, and a movie playing quietly in the background. Ochako sat between them, with Izuku on her right and Tenya on her left. She looked at them closely. These were her people, her boys, her home. "Can I say something?" she asked softly. They both turned to her right away. "Of course," Izuku said. "You have our full attention," Tenya added. Her hand shook a little. "I don't just like spending time with you guys." They leaned in, encouraging and warm. It felt safe. I like you. Both of you. Not just as friends." Silence filled the room. The world seemed to pause. Izuku blinked. Tenya's glasses caught the light. Ochako braced herself. Izuku spoke first. "You mean, like, really close friends?" Tenya nodded slowly. "A bond beyond standard camaraderie." Ochako felt her soul leave her body. In the background, Class 3A were losing their minds. "She said it!" Mina yelled. "She literally said it," Kaminari added. Ugh, and they still missed it? Jiro groaned. Bakugo stood up. That's it. I'm ending this. No, Kirishima grabbed him. Violence is not the answer. It is for me. Finally, the breakthrough. The next date unfolded in a way that felt refreshingly simple and intimate. Set atop the dorm rooftop, the atmosphere was tranquil, a precious escape from the bustle of their everyday lives. Stars sprinkled the night sky, twinkling brightly above them, while a gentle breeze whispered through the air, carrying with it a sense of calm. There would be no distractions tonight, no classes, no responsibilities, just the three of them, framed by the vast expanse of the cosmos. Ochako stood confidently before them, her heart racing, but her resolve unwavering. Tonight, she would finally share her truth. No metaphors this time, she declared, her voice steady and clear, cutting through the serene silence that enveloped them. Izuku straightened himself, feeling the weight of her words. Tenya, standing beside him, adjusted his posture to mirror Izuku, an unspoken agreement forming between the two. I like you, Ochako confessed, her gaze steady as she locked eyes with each of them in turn. Romantically. Both of you. A heavy silence settled among them, a different kind than before, charged with a new understanding, as if the very air was thick with possibility. Something within their trio began to click into place. Izuku's cheeks flushed a deep crimson, warmth spreading across his face, while Tenya's normally composed demeanor faltered just slightly, a flicker of surprise breaking through his usually stoic expression. Romantically? Izuku echoed, his voice tinged with disbelief, as if he were tasting the word for the first time. Ochako nodded, her gaze unwavering. With us? Tenya inquired, his tone measured yet edged with hopefulness, as he sought clarity amidst the whirlwind of emotions swirling around them. Another nod from Ochako confirmed their suspicions. Izuku turned to look at Tenya, who met his gaze with an expression that mirrored his own dawning realization. In that moment, something profound passed between them, an understanding forged from shared experiences, lingering memories, and the subtle weight of every touch and glance they had exchanged over time. Oh, Izuku murmured, the implication of Ochako's admission slowly dawning upon him. Oh, Tenya echoed softly, a spark of realization igniting in his mind. They both returned their focus to Ochako simultaneously, their expressions no longer filled with confusion, but rather clarity. For once, they weren't being dense. Izuku and the first to smile, a soft and nervous grin blooming on his face that somehow managed to radiate warmth and sincerity all at once. I think I've felt something like that too. I just didn't understand it until now, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper, yet filled with conviction. Tenya, adjusting his glasses with slightly trembling hands, added thoughtfully, It appears I have also misinterpreted my own feelings all this time. His heart raced as he acknowledged the depths of his emotions, realizing how long he had hidden them away. Ochako felt a rush of emotion well up within her, tears pricking the corners of her eyes as she absorbed their responses. So? She prompted, anticipatory hope mingling with her anxiety. Izuku reached out instinctively, his hand closing around hers, a gesture filled with promise. Tenya, not to be left behind, mirrored the action, his fingers brushing against her palm with equal tenderness. Neither of them let go, their hands entwined, creating a bridge between them. "We'd like to try," Izuku declared, the words tumbling out with unexpected confidence. "With you," Tenya added, his expression earnest, determination shining in his eyes. Overcome with emotion, Ochako laughed, a sound that was both joyous and bittersweet, a little breathless and laced with tears. "Took you long enough," she teased gently, her heart swelling with relief and happiness. In that moment, surrounded by stars and each other, they stepped into a new chapter together, ready to explore the depths of their feelings. Class 3A celebrate with a victory party. Mina's eyes brimmed with tears, her emotions spilling over as she processed everything that had happened. Nearby, Kaminari jumped up, a broad smile lighting up his face as he cheered enthusiastically, his energy infectious and lifting the mood in the room. Jiro, who had been tense for what felt like hours, finally let out a long, shaky breath, her shoulders relaxing as she glanced around at her friends. Kirishima, ever the embodiment of enthusiasm, threw his fists in the air and bellowed, "Manly resolution!" His voice boomed through the room, eliciting both laughter and motivation from the others. Meanwhile, Bakugo, arms crossed and a scowl on his face, clicked his tongue in irritation, but surprisingly chose to remain nearby, a silent acknowledgement of their shared moment. Todoroki observed the scene with his usual calm demeanor, nodding decisively as he spoke. Solution achieved. His expression conveyed satisfaction, as if he had resolved not just a problem, but a deeper understanding among them all. And there on the couch, a cozy refuge amid the chaos, Ochako nestled between them once more. This time, however, there was a noticeable shift in the air. Izuku leaned gently against her shoulder, seeking comfort and support, while Tenya grasped her hand with an open and unguarded affection that spoke volumes. There was no confusion lingering in the atmosphere, no signals misunderstood. Just a warm, soft connection blossoming among them, something profoundly real that had always existed beneath the surface, finally surfacing and embraced with clarity.